I did really well with Bitcoin only because, and this wasn't an investment, because I like experimenting with technology. The first 2 Bitcoins I got, someone bought me a coffee. I bought them a coffee and they paid for me in Bitcoin. What you tend to fall in love with was how you made money yesterday rather than the future. And you need to be in love with the future, otherwise it'll come and get you. If you want to see what's going to happen financially, it happens on the street first and with people, because the numbers have a lag effect on corporations' performances. You have this legacy thing where the CEOs who run corporations, who run ads on major TV, the CEOs are still at this stage, they grew up with TV, and in their mind, that's where you advertise if you have big budgets. And when people who grew up with the internet become CEOs, then they're going to sit in a board meeting and go, why are we spending this amount on free-to-air TV when we can just advertise on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and reach more people for 700% less of the price? My investment advice is, if you want to see what's going to happen financially, it happens on the street first and with people, because the numbers have a lag effect on corporations' performances, right? So you could see how well Apple's doing. Just go down to an Apple store on a Saturday and see how busy it is.
Fact.
Right? You can see that free-to-air TV is dying, because when you talk to friends about it, they'll say, I never watch TV. They watch YouTube or Netflix or TikTok on their phone. So you can see these behavior patterns before they appear financially. And that one there, free-to-air linear TV with 3 channels, is a terrible business model. No one watches it. And by the way, they're advertising, they charge 700 times the price for 1,000 people versus TikTok or YouTube.
Really?
Right.
Yeah, so they have an unsustainable business model where for some reason they still command a premium, and that premium is unjustifiable. And so you have this legacy thing where the CEOs who run corporations, who run ads on major TV, superannuation companies and car companies and food companies, the CEOs are still at this stage, they grew up with TV, and in their mind, that's where you advertise if you have big budgets. Right? And so often you'll get a dying technology last 10 or 15 years longer than it should, because the decision makers haven't got to the top of the hierarchy yet. And when people who grew up with the internet and people who only know a world of the internet become CEOs and marketing directors, then they're going to sit in a board meeting and go, why are we spending this amount on free-to-air TV when we can just advertise on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and reach more people for 700% less of the price?
So if you're saying free-to-air TV is dying, what about cinema then?
Cinema's a struggle as well.
Yeah.
And the reason cinema's a struggle is that they don't have a point of difference that they used to have. The point of difference used to be you would get things in cinema first. So you want to see it first, it's advertised, you have to go to the place. And it was a big screen and a comfortable chair. Now everyone's got cinema-style chairs at home, giant screens at home, which are pretty good, and surround sound. So that point of difference has evaporated. And you get Netflix having movies which are launched, available to everyone the day it happens, Disney Plus and Apple. So their point of difference and the number of exclusive movies they have to cinema screen is really declined. And for me, the only kind of future of cinema is to make it something like a gold class, where it's a really great event. And it's quite interesting. If you go to gold class, it's hard to get a ticket. I don't know why they haven't expanded that radically and make it an event worth going out for, and do different things around the screen, like the way you sit. Maybe it could be, like a party or a cocktail party and watch a movie. There's a million different ways they can do that. But the movie itself and the screen itself, if that's their point of difference, they're already dead and they just don't know it yet.
I don't know. I feel like there's still a space for cinema, because it's that whole experience. You know?
Not for me.
I have a cinema at home. I don't need it.
Well,
I don't do it.
I go with my kids occasionally, just to go somewhere, but increasingly we watch things at home.
Yeah.
Look, I get it. The experience is good and the going, and I like that too, and the big screen. But I feel like for their economic model, because a lot of people aren't doing that, they need to expand their offer and change. And that's always been the case with every industry. And what you tend to fall in love with was how you made money yesterday rather than the future. And you need to be in love with the future, otherwise it'll come and get you.
Yeah. So I guess coming back to you, you trying to predict things, right? Does that mean that, for example, you said, cable TV will die?
Yeah,
Does
cable
that mean
TV and linear TV will die.
on a personal level, did you then, again, I'm trying to get fancy here, But did you invest in companies like Netflix and whatnot and be like, okay, this because I predicted this is the future, I'm gonna put money in this
mate,
because I
yeah.
know it's gonna make a lot of
Did you
money.
short Blockbuster?
No, I didn't. I didn't. Look, I think I've made some reasonable investments in areas based on my knowledge.
Okay.
But then I'm going to preface that by talking about what my recommendations for investing are. So I'll give you a few of the examples that I did well in. I did really well with Bitcoin only because, and this wasn't an investment, because I like experimenting with technology. The first 2 Bitcoins I got, someone bought me a coffee
Okay.
and I bought them a coffee and they paid for me in Bitcoin. So I'm not that clever. Shout out to Ross Hill. Thank you.
How long ago was that?
Oh, it was $13 a Bitcoin then.
Oh, he must have
So it
regret
was
buying
like
those
2000.
coffees.
I think it was about 2011.
It's a very expensive coffee.
2011. And then another time, Nick Hodges, another mate of mine, we went out for pizza and he paid his half of the bill in Bitcoin as well. And Bitcoin there might have been $300. He didn't give me a whole Bitcoin. So they're the Bitcoins that I have. I was just experimenting with the apps to see how it could work trading. I bought some land in Geelong, 110 acres, for a pretty cheap price because I knew that the work from home revolution would happen. And I wrote about that. I called it the regional renaissance because with digital technology, you can work from anywhere. And the only reason offices exist, and I know we're in a beautiful office today, is that photocopiers used to be $110,000.
Yeah.
And we had to know, and I'm saying that half in jest.
Yeah.
It's because we had to centralize the factors of production because they were expensive and we all gravitated to where that production was. Now the reason that we have offices is legacy. It's not that we need it. Yes, we need to get together, interact a few times a week. But I predicted that we would have a dispersion of people. And when COVID happened, that became true. And that property investment I made sort of 4x'd. So there was that. And I also, early days on Google and Apple, with some of those technologies, made some investment in those big tech companies that did 10x even. So I've had a few wins. But that said, my investment advice is low cost, funds management, ETFs, that kind of stuff. Simple.
It's a great
superannuation.
segue. Yeah.
Because predicting is really, really difficult. And I think that if you just invest for the long term in conservative approach where you get a large mix of portfolio, you're going to do better than 99% of the world. And here's why. 90% of people don't invest, so you're better than them already. And of the 10% of people that do invest, 90% of those gamble, which is trading and buying and selling stocks, which no one makes money out of, just the people who clip the ticket on the sell and the buy. And then you become a 1%er just by having a conservative long-term investing approach. Boring, isn't it?
That's how it should be.
Sage
Investing
advice.
should be boring.
Yeah.
You just
Investing
invest
should
and
be
forget.
boring, right? Because investing isn't boring. You're not investing. You're gambling, right? Think about it. If you're on edge, like you're watching a horse race, that's not investing. If you sleep at night and go, I don't care, I don't have to, that's what all the greatest investors do. They say, I don't care, I don't have to, because I know it's in a good place.